has done it. They've gone from 15 and 16 to champions of college baseball.
Welcome to the 1,544 Miles to Omaha podcast, talking about the past, present, and future of Cal State Fullerton baseball.
3-2 pitch on Davis is a fastball hit to left and deep. Blazer doesn't even go back on it. It's that far out and gone. Looked like it went over the scoreboard. A home run by J.D. Davis.
0-2 swing and a miss, strike three. Cal State Fullerton is on to the College World Series.
Here's your host, Dave Lamb.
Welcome into Twitter Spaces. My name is Dave Lamb, editor-in-chief and founder of CalStateOmaha and the 1544 Miles to Omaha podcast. And joining me, as he does each week, is the All-American pitcher, Mike Parisi. Pitched for the Titans from 1992 to 1994 seasons. And each week we get together on Twitter and we chop it up about the Titans, the previous week, upcoming week, and all that. So let's just jump right into it. So UC Davis weekend, first sweep for the Titans, and then also last night was the 15-5 drubbing of the UCLA Bruins to run the record to a five-game win streak. So obviously probably got a lot of good fun things to talk about tonight, Mike.
We do. They're on a roll right now, and they're playing really, really well in a lot of areas of the game. So, I'm very proud of them.
Well, speaking of the 5-game win streak, it stretches obviously the 3 games for up there in Davis. Last night makes it 4, and then the Sunday win against UC Irvine makes it the 5-game stretch. What are you seeing within those 5 games? And unfortunately, I'm using the term "seeing" very loosely because Titan fans that didn't make the trip up to Davis, and I don't know how many did, but probably very, very few, and you weren't able, and we'll hit on this in a little bit, they weren't able to watch the live stream up in Davis like they were on Friday night because Saturday and Sunday was essentially a blackout and there was no video live feed for the last 2 Davis games. But what are you seeing either from box scores or with your own eyes or on the live stream that the Titans are really clicking and doing well right now?
Well, seeing it live yesterday firsthand, I see a committed Titans baseball team in that dugout, and I see a solid coaching staff and the players buying into their philosophy. I was really impressed with the stealing a third, the base running, hard 90s, hard turns, ball and dirt. I mean, they were doing the little things right, which is Titan baseball. So it was really impressive to watch.
Yeah, it seems like the fundamentals have really returned to the point where it's those little things that one little thing won't win you a game, but when you string 5, 6, 7, or 8 together, it might produce an extra run here or save an extra run here, depending on what that little thing happens to be. So yeah, I was impressed, and especially, we always want the team to come out of the gate strong and go undefeated. No one wants to go into a game. Nobody wants to lose games at all. And even the greatest Titan team in 1995, they won, 50, what was it? 59-7 was their record.
56-9, 50, yeah, somewhere around there. They had an outstanding game.
Yeah. Even they lost games. So it's not like, you're going to go through, I don't know of any college baseball team that's going to go undefeated, but I think a lot of fans were kind of frustrated in the fact that the Titans were showing signs of they could have actually won that series and even possibly even swept the Stanford series. And then same thing goes with the Texas series. That could have been a sweep. So I think there's kind of like that breath of relief in the fact that they finally got that sweep up there in Davis. And I don't want to discount and saying, oh, it's Davis. They've traditionally not been very good in the Big West and, trying to discount it. I mean, a sweep is a sweep. 3 wins in the standings is 3 wins in the standings. I don't care who it comes against, whether it's Hawaii this weekend or it's Santa Barbara the next or it's Irvine 2 weeks ago. a sweep is a sweep, and 3 wins is 3 wins.
Absolutely.
Anything else stuck out when it comes to the Davis series, whether it was watching on Friday or being able to kind of keep track via the Twitter? And I got to give a hats off to the Titans baseball social media team for what they've been doing via Twitter, especially on that Saturday and Sunday when people weren't able to watch. They were really keeping people up to date on what was going on. Now, obviously, you could be keeping track with those live stats, pitch by pitch and all that kind of stuff. But the inning by inning, half inning by half inning recaps that they were doing on Twitter was really keeping people informed and up to date and all that. So I want to just kind of give them a kudos and a pat on the back for a good job on that one, especially because if you're not able to watch it on the live stream, a lot of people are really, really relying on that one. But anything specific? I mean, I've got a few things that I'm going to obviously hit on in the column, but anything specific coming out of Davis before we touch on UCLA?
I mean, Tyler Stoltz going 8 innings, getting his 3rd win, pitched outstanding, scattered 8 hits, gives up 2 runs, 5 Ks, great outing. And then Ryan Fox gets the 1 inning, of work, and he was outstanding in that. And offensively, Nankill 4 for 5 with 3 RBIs. He was definitely offensive player of the game there. So that was a big Friday win going into Saturday and Sunday.
And piggybacking on that, talking about Nankill, I mean, he's currently leading the Cal State Omaha Batter of the Week poll on Twitter. So if you haven't gone and voted on that one, make sure to go vote on that one. And then also the Pitcher of the Week is still up and doesn't close until tomorrow. But yeah, he had a fantastic, great weekend. Tapered off a little bit, but then came on strong again. So Nankill definitely is definitely going to be a leader in the clubhouse when it comes to that Batter of the Week honor. But touching on Saturday, so last week when we were doing this, we were talking about how, hey, we don't want to put too much pressure on Trevor Hinkle. We don't want to say this is a make or break weekend, but if things don't turn around or something like that, it very well could turn out to that. But Hinkle had himself a pretty good Saturday. I mean, unfortunately, he didn't get a win. He didn't, but he didn't let up a home run. He only had 1 earned run, and I think he lowered his ERA. His ERA is now below 8. It was coming into the game a 9.25.
Yeah,
but now it's at a 7.98. So it's just sub 8 now, and he keeps on having outings like that. It's going to come down pretty quick. And I apologize because my 4-month-old puppy is barking, so we got some background noise.
I got Koa in the background, and you got the puppy in the background, so we're all good. Good. We
got the youth, canines, and human beings all taken care of.
Yeah, my youth's going, I'm hungry, Dad. Feed me. But Hinkle had a good start. I wouldn't even look. If I'm him, I'm not even looking at his ERA. I'm looking at quality starts and finding a way to help his team win games. And he threw 5 solid innings. And yes, he gave a couple runs in the 5th, and he may have tired out or whatever the reason was. But I'm happy with that start. The coaching staff has to be happy with that start. And I'm looking forward to seeing him pitch live on Saturday against Hawaii. The bullpen was solid. And offensively, it wasn't their typical offensive game where they had multiple guys with multiple hits. They had 6 scattered hits. They grinded that game out. Like you said, it's not easy to sweep. That was a tough game. And they grinded that game out, and they found a way to win that game. So that was huge.
Well, and I also wanted to talk about a little bit about the RPI and the fact that UCLA came in, their consensus across all the different polls that are out there. They were consensus number 12, and the RPI, they were originally, I think they were like number 1 or number 2 before they unfortunately lost that Washington series prior to playing the Titans on Tuesday. But their RPI, and then getting that game last night, really helped the Titans RPI to the point where it raised the RPI by 29 points. So over the 7-day stretch. So if you go with, and D1 Baseball has this really, really great resource for tracking the RPI, but by just one day, by beating the Bruins, the Titans RPI jumped by 8 points, and then over the course of 7-day stretch, including the UC Davis series, it improved 29 points from this time, from Wednesday of last week. So currently, Titans have an RPI of 53, and we all kind of understand that the general rule of thumb is that if you're below 50, you're in a really, really good position for a potential of a at-large
Right.
bid for the NCAA tournament. Now, I know we're 35% way, along the way, so we still have a lot of baseball to be played. 2 series in the Big West, still a lot of baseball to be played.
But it's good. It's good to
That
talk about it, and the listeners and stuff, they need to understand what RPI is all about, and why Coach Dietrich scheduled the schedule that he did non-league, because you need those, and you need those wins. And look at Texas. They won like 13 in a row. I just saw they just beat Texas A&M in a midweek game. So they're on fire right now. So Fullerton beating them 2 out of 3. That was huge.
And most people don't understand the way the RPI works is that your RPI is kind of a sliding scale based on where your other teams are. So if you lose to a team that's top 25 in the RPI, it doesn't hurt you as bad as if you lose to somebody who's in the bottom 25 of the RPI. So if you lose to a team, and basically RPI takes into consideration do you win the games that you should be winning, and are you losing the games that you shouldn't be losing type of a situation, and it takes in factor, on the road and all that other kind of stuff. But, I think, we finally have an opportunity to talk about RPI, because in the past handful of years, we really haven't been able to focus on RPI and say, okay, if we don't win the Big West, we still have a pathway into the playoffs. Whereas in the past 4 or 5 years, it's been, man, this team has got to win the Big West or it's
Correct.
there's no opportunity. And that's mainly because the Big West hasn't really sent a whole lot of team. It's been a one bid league for, a number of years now. Now, a lot of people are saying with the strength of the Big West now, the Big West went 9-0 last night in midweeks. So not too shabby for the Big West kind of showing out and representing there. But maybe the Big West has 2, possibly maybe 3 bids to their name when it's all said and done. So the RPI will come into a factor once you get those at-large bids for those non-winners of the Big West Conference. So as a player, and was RPI a big thing to pay attention to, or is that was that not even a factor?
We never even heard. I've never even heard of RPI when I was a player. It was, we're playing to win the Big West Conference. We're definitely going to go to a regional, and let's see where they try to put us. And we're not going to be the number 1 seed, because they're going to put us somewhere like Texas, Oklahoma State, or LSU. And let's see if we can find a way to get to Omaha.
Right. Yeah. And who knows? If the Titans go on a blistering run, they could put themselves into a position of potentially hosting, especially with the non-conference that they have played. But you never know.
I think that's jumping ahead. If we get to a regional this year, that would be amazing. And in Dietrich's second year, you're going to a regional. And I think winning the Big West Conference is their first goal. Getting a regional bid is their second goal. And they're just trying to take it day by day and in one conference weekend at a time right now. So they're doing good so far.
Well, and I also wanted to hit on, including the UCLA game and the UC Davis series, of course, that Carter White is just continuing to hit the cover off the ball. The guy is batting .424. He currently has a 15-game hit streak and an 18-game on base streak, and he has reached safely either hit, walk, or hit by pitch in every game that he's played in this season.
Wow, good for him. I didn't know that. That's awesome. Yeah, keep him in the lineup.
Well, he was batting leadoff a couple of the games, but he's definitely batting in the top third for all the games that he's been in.
He was 3 for 4 with 3 runs yesterday against UCLA too.
Yep, had himself a pretty good game. So,
what about this? What's your take on this weekend? Did we find a closer? Is JoJo Ingracia the now closer with 2 saves over the weekend? That's pretty impressive. Finn Chester had a win, his 3rd win out of relief with Trevor Hinkle, but it looks like JoJo's closed out 2 games. Maybe that's their go-to closer now. I know they got a solid bullpen with Peyton Jones and Finn Chester and JoJo, but that's impressive.
I would agree. I think the intent was for JoJo and Gracia to be the de facto closer to start, and I think during those non-conference games that they were trying to figure it out, and I think he is that guy to be able to have that, because obviously as a pitcher, there's a different mentality from a bullpen guy, from a starter to an actual closer. You got to have that bulldog mentality where nothing phases you.
Right.
And hopefully that JoJo has that mentality where he can come in and he can be the guy that shuts things down. I know Chester might have been, but he's shown that he can go longer relief as well, or even start, because he was a starter last year. He was a weekend starter
Absolutely.
last
He's very
year.
valuable to that bullpen. If they need him to go 2-3 innings, great. If they need him to get 3 outs, great. He's willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of the bullpen, unfortunately, I mean, I didn't crunch the numbers just yet for the column. I will be doing that, but it seems like the past couple of times out, Jason Blood has kind of struggled a little bit. And last night he had 2 innings, and the first inning he did all right, but the second inning he got lifted, and we all know that he can go a little bit longer than just 2 innings.
He did. He had a rough second inning after Fullerton game before spot. That was a staff game. I mean, how many pitchers did we use yesterday? I think it was about 7 or 8 pitchers. And I thought Ryan Fox, Peyton Jones, freshman Jesse Alfaro, Finn Chester, and Carter Herrera, they were outstanding. Even Seth Tomczak was fine. They tried to sneak a fastball in that left-handed hitter, and he turned on it for a home run. But I thought he pitched fine too. So.
Well, I thought it was nice to see some of the younger guys get in there. Jesse Alfaro and Carter Herrera. I think that was Herrera's second appearance this year. And I think it's also Alfaro's second appearance also. He might have had a third. I'm not 100% sure until I look at the stats. But then, and it was also good because, the Titans had a pretty good sized lead that the younger guys, Draven Nushida, Eli Lopez, both of those guys were able to get in that bat in, and then play the field a little bit there late. And obviously it's a midweek, actually a large lead. So, you want to be able to get your young guys a little bit of extra work there. So that was nice to see, obviously, and I mean, I think it's kind of cool that those guys get to say like, hey, take a look at the UCLA. I got to play against UCLA, the number 12 team in the nation as a freshman. I was able to get in, check the box score. Yeah. Unfortunately, I may have struck out or, grounded out or whatever happened. I think both Draven and Eli both had strikeouts, but hey, they're out there, making it happen.
Yeah, and if I'm the pitching staff and I'm staffing it and I don't get a lot of work, their UCLA's All-American shortstop out of Jay Serra punched out 4 times yesterday in front of his home crowd. So, it's not nice to see a kid strike out 4 times, but if you're a pitcher and you're striking that guy out, you're feeling pretty good about yourself.
Yeah, I would agree. And then I do want to touch on the lack of live streaming on Saturday and Sunday up at Davis. I mean, a number of people had questions as to, hey, they obviously have the capability to be able to live stream because we saw it on Friday. Why weren't they doing it on Saturday and Sunday? So here's my theory, and this is kind of the unsolicited theory here, is that Davis had softball going the same weekend as baseball. And I think that the Titans ran into this problem a couple years ago when Utah was one of those last-minute ads in, I believe it was 2021, when they were originally supposed to play University of Texas San Antonio. And if you remember a couple years ago, that's when Texas was going through that humongous cold snap where all the pipes were freezing all across Texas and all that kind of stuff. And UTSA couldn't host the game because they didn't have any available water and all that other kind of stuff. So they had to cancel the game last minute. Well, Stanford wasn't ready to play that 2021 season because you got to remember that was the year that we were still doing masks outside and there was still COVID restrictions and all this other kind of stuff. So Stanford wasn't ready to play, so they turned us down. So Fullerton was just sitting around with a game ready to go, and Utah was freed up because of the UTSA thing. So it was a last minute thing, and they put it together. Well, since it wasn't already previously scheduled, the Titans only really had video equipment to broadcast one game at a time. And because the basketball game was already pre-scheduled and was already allotted for that video equipment, the game couldn't be broadcast. And then they kind of scrambled, and then now they've got 2 sets where they can do multiple games at the same time, multiple streams and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's what Davis ran into.
Right.
Is the fact that they've only got enough equipment to broadcast one game at a time, and if 2 games are going on, baseball and softball, my assumption, this is a pure assumption, is that because of Title IX, they very well, I have 2 theories. One is that Title IX, they said, okay, well, we've got a 3-game set with both softball and baseball. Okay, we'll do the baseball game on Friday, and then the other 2 will be softball because we want to be equitable. And obviously, if it was a 4-game set, they would probably do 2 and 2. But because it's an odd number, they probably had to give the women the 2 games because they didn't want to get sued through Title IX by saying, okay, you chose to do the men over the women, and that's inequitable and all that other kind of stuff. Also, and I haven't had a chance to deep dive into the softball team for UC Davis, but to be quite honest with you, I think the UC Davis softball team might be a little bit better than the baseball team. So they probably thought we should probably broadcast the softball team because we might have more viewers because the girls are doing a little bit better. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, but nobody actually came out and said this is the reason why they were able to broadcast on Friday, but then they chose not to do it on Saturday or Sunday. So I don't know if I'm just kind of just winging it and just kind of pulling theories out of the air, or there's any basis to that. My dog, unfortunately, wants to hide her toy underneath my chair and then bark at it.
Well, my son's 16 months, and he's following me wherever I go right now. So it was like, he's wanting to know why I'm walking away from him. And so he's like, where are you going and what are you doing? Pay attention to me. What's your take on Sunday? How awesome was Evan Yates on Sunday? And that whole pitching staff was solid. Those 3 pitchers that threw, but Evan Yates striking out 8 and walking away 1 in 5 innings. That's definitely his best start as a Titan.
Yeah, he went. Let me take a look here. So Evan went 5 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. I mean, that's the thing that stands out the most to me, is not necessarily the depth of the game that he went, which was 5 innings, but and I think after 2 that he had 5 strikeouts after 2 innings, which that's gonna play in any ballpark for no matter what. And then so the 0.00 ERA was rather impressive as well. And he's currently, I took a look at the Twitter poll. He's currently leading for the pitcher of the week poll, and looked really, really good. I like the fact that 1-2 punch of Yates starts and then Jones comes in and kind of cleans it up afterwards. I really like that righty lefty 1-2 punch on Sundays for sure. And then, but yeah, Evan really, really showed me something, even though I couldn't see it with my own eyes because it was on Sunday and it was live streamed. I was checking the live stats as they were updating, and I was impressed. So hopefully he really cemented, much like Hinkle. Hopefully he really cemented himself as the Sunday guy as well, and established the fact that he can go a little bit longer. He can go that 5 innings, and it's not going to be one of those 3 innings or 2 2/3 or something like that, and then Peyton Jones has to come in and do 4, 4.5, 5. So I was definitely impressed with that.
Absolutely, and I see Nankill was 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs. Did he hit a home run?
He did have a home run over the weekend, and then I believe it was Maddox Lotta had a home run himself, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was Lotta had another home run. I think we had another guy join the home run party, and yeah, it was Maddox Lotta. He had 1 hit. Unfortunately, Maddox is kind of scuffling these days. On Friday, he went 1 for 3, but his one hit was a home run, so that's not bad. But then he sat out on Saturday, and then on Sunday he was 0 for 5. Last night he was 0 for 5. So for that 4-game stretch, he was like 1 for 13, which is a .080 batting average. So, but hey, if you're going to get one hit, might as well make it a home run. And he was one of the ones that has now joined the party with guys like Bobo Nankill, Caden Connors, Zach Liu, who am I forgetting? Cole Ehrman's got a home run. So it was nice to see another name in the box score having a home run.
Well, not everyone's going to stay hot and everyone's going to go through slumps. It's baseball. But if your team's on a 5-game winning streak and you're going through a little slump, but maybe you're playing solid defense, you'll be fine. It's a new weekend. Let's get hot this weekend and try to break out of your slump. So that's what I'm thinking if I'm him.
Well, and we were talking about how Zach Liu didn't have the best weekend series up there at Pepperdine, and it looks like he rebounded. I mean, he wasn't off the charts, kind of like Caden Connor and Nate Nankill, but Zach Liu had himself a pretty good weekend. He was 5 for 17, which is a .290 average for the weekend. Scored 3 runs, 4 RBIs, walked 3 times. So not bad, but back to being Zach Liu, which was kind of uncharacteristic of what he showed up there in Pepperdine.
And I called it last night when I was sitting up on that balcony in left field with Jason's brother. I'm like, Zach Liu's going to get a double right here, and he hit that shot down the line, and a couple runs scored, and or the 1-run score. That was a big double. So he's swinging the bat good. He's a confident player.
Yeah, I mean, and I think you hit the nail on the head. You said not everybody's going to be hitting 350, 1 through 9 in the lineup. So you definitely want to be able to have in some guys that are picking each other up. You definitely don't want to have everybody going through the lineup offers, but not everybody's going to hit 1 through 9. So it's nice that there's some balance.
Right. One stat that stood out last night when I was driving home and I was watching it on TV a little bit. How many strikeouts did that pitching staff have? They had like about 16 punch outs.
You're talking about last night against UCLA?
How many strikeouts did our pitching staff have?
I got it pulled up. 18 punch
outs. That's huge. That's impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. So of the 9 innings, so I'm just looking at the box right now. 9 innings pitched, of course. 7 hits, 5 runs, 5 earned, 7 walks, and 18 punchies.
Wow.
So not too bad. And then compared to their staff, they gave up 14 hits, 15 runs, 13 of them earned, and walked 11.
Wow. That was a long game last night. They said that game was longer than one of those Sanford games. That game took a while.
Yeah, I don't think it was as long as the extra inning one that went like the 2 football scores.
Right.
But a lot of people sitting around us were like, hey, now that there is the pitch clock, hopefully that's going to cut down on it, because John Savage coach teams are notorious for being a human rain delay.
Right.
So hopefully the pitch clock. And if you noticed, if you're at the game or even watching on the stream, you noticed that the home plate umpire, he was signaling those index fingers to the side, like, hey, that's his first step off without throwing to a base or without delivering to the plate. There was a number of those warnings of like, hey, that's your freebie for this at bat. And it seemed like every single at bat there was a potential pitch clock violation where the guy had to step off, which just delays and delays.
I think that could be a huge home field advantage, just like in basketball on the clock, where the fans and student bodies start yelling, not even the exact time, like 3, 2, 1, and there might be like 6 seconds left on it, and pitchers are going to hear that. They're going to rush.
Yeah, and I know that clock is, and I was actually watching the replay of the Tennessee versus A&M Sunday game where Drew Beam is the pitcher for Tennessee. He'll come up from his set and he'll just hold it there. And he's not moving. He's not even turning his head or any of that kind of stuff. He's just holding it there until the pitch clock gets down to like 1 second. And then the batter tries to call time, and then the umpire doesn't give it to him, and then he delivers, which is going to make, so I think this new pitch clock can be an advantage depending on how you use it, whether it's on the road or it's at home or how you do it. There's ways to kind of manipulate that pitch clock. So, same thing with batters is that if he's already stepped off once, he's got to deliver, or he's just got a soft toss over to an occupied base or whatever happens to be.
Right.
So that was kind of an interesting dynamic to kind of watch that whole thing through. But last night it seemed like all those UCLA pitchers were stepping off and getting that one warning per batter, almost every single at bat. It seemed
Yes.
like, so it was kind
And
of
we
crazy.
saw a review yesterday. We don't see that. That's the first time I've seen
Yeah,
that.
and that was
Really to our advantage.
I was going to bring that up. That I think it was during the Texas series, and we were sitting next to each other last night. I think it was during the Texas series that I had mentioned this, that one of the Texas guys went and kind of did the headphones, put his hands to his ears motion, like, hey, go to the headphones, go to the review. And the umpires waved it off because I don't believe that the video review system at Goodwin Field was set up yet, or I guess the equipment was purchased and hadn't been brought in yet, or whatever it happens to be. So I was very, very surprised when who was it? I think it was Maddox Lotta or was Moises Guzman. I
Yeah, I
forget
think it
which
was
one.
Guzman who slid back into second or something. They called him out, and I said, I think he's safe.
Yeah, I think it was Guzman. So, and he kind of does the motion of like headphones, and I was thinking to myself, like, well, shouldn't he know that there's no replay here at Goodwin? Next thing you know, those umpires, they go up that little tunnel or whatever it is, and they go take a look at review. It's like, oh, I guess we do have review, and thankfully they called him out, but then they called him safe after the review, so that was nice. But also talking about some technology and moving into the 21st century. You were noticing that the Titans are wearing those little electronic
Wristbands or whatever you call them.
Wristbands, indicators, digital
Right.
readout, whatever it is. Why don't you describe what you saw and what those things do?
Well, every infielder, every catcher, and the pitcher has it. And Jason looked like, Coach Dietrich looked like he was calling a pitch as he was covering his mouth. There was someone behind him who would put it in the computer, and it's really fast. And every pitcher and everyone looks and says, hey, fastball away, or plus fastball, or breaking ball, or pick to second, but this thing could say anything. And everybody knows exactly what's taking place. The tempo is fast, and they don't need to be given signs. And the SEC is big on using it. I think Vanderbilt was one of the first programs to get this. It's not a cheap thing to have. We mentioned maybe Michael Lorenzen may have got that for them. Who knows? But it's a great device. It's really, really cool. And I'm glad Fullerton has it.
Yeah, so they were using those earlier in this. They were using those little grid card. I call them a grid card, where they can wear them on their belt, or the pitcher puts that little sleeve guard. And you've seen them on quarterbacks' arms or whatever it is. They just flip the thing open and they call the player, whatever it is. So all they have to do is they just call in, hey, 434 or something like that, and then they look at the card, say, okay, I know what that is, or something like that. And the batters have those. They were wearing them on their belts, or they're wearing them on their glove hand, or something like that, depending on what it is. But now it's one of those little, like, I wouldn't call it like a Fitbit, but it's kind of like one of those, like a little electronic type deals. So, that was really, really kind of cool.
The one thing I was trying to figure out, who I didn't figure out, is he had brought in a pitcher, and I was watching closely because the other pitcher stays on the mound because they got to do some type of switch. But it didn't look like he gave up his wristband, but it looked like almost like a Bluetooth, like he's connecting something or what system they're using. I don't know exact details. I'm trying to figure out how that pitcher came in. They sort of like touched their wristband and connected, or it was very interesting. So I got to find that out over the weekend.
Yeah, that's super cool, though. I mean, it's kind of nice in the fact that Fullerton's got that new clubhouse, and now video review, now those little like wristband indicator, whatever you want to call them. I mean, that's really, really cool. That kind of playing, keeping up with the Joneses with the bigger, Power 5, SEC, whatever you want to call it. Those schools that have got all that football money coming out their ears. That the Titans are still keeping pace with the competitive. The competitiveness of it, whether it comes to be analytics or like I said, video review, or everybody's on the same page with those little digital readout little wristbands or whatever you want to call them. So that was really, really cool. And I'm glad that you pointed that out last night, because I wouldn't have noticed it unless I looked really, really closely. I still thought that they were looking down at the cardboard card, the little card stock that was, slipped into like the little wrist sleeve or something like that. So that was interesting to see.
Yeah, and then you're seeing Savage hiding himself in the corner of the dugout, so you can't really see him with his little walkie-talkie, and he's telling the catcher and talking his catcher through each pitch. their tempo seemed really slow. Infielders, they weren't knowing what's exactly coming. They got to peek on the signs, or maybe someone in the dugouts giving them a sign to let them know what's coming, which probably was what they're doing. But I like the system that Fullerton's using.
And it's nice that I would agree with you in the fact that it seemed like the pace of play, and I don't know if this is a byproduct of the pitch clock and the batter having a certain amount of time to get into the box and the whole pace of play thing going on. But it seemed like the Titans were moving quickly, and UCLA was moving at a snail's pace.
UCLA was getting frustrated.
Well, I mean, you gotta adapt, and if this is the way that the game is going to be played, you want to get up to speed as quickly as possible.
I never feel sorry for UCLA though, so that was good. That was fun to watch last night.
No, I would think that when it comes to rivals, Long Beach ranks number 1. I think UC Irvine, it kind of comes in as a distant second, but man, it's always nice to be able to beat UCLA, especially in our yard.
Absolutely. That was a nice win. It was a great week. 5-game winning streak heading into Hawaii. This is going to be a big save. Hawaii had a good year last year under Coach Hill. With I think they came in 3rd in the Big West last year. So this is going to be a big weekend.
And I was doing some research for the column that's going to come out tomorrow. That in Coach Hill's second year this year, they're actually doing pretty well. They just swept Tulane, so they had much like the Titans have their Big West bye week, and they're going to travel out to TCU. Tulane went out to Hawaii, had a little nice vacation trip there, promptly got their head kicked in to the tune of 3-0, and walked out of there with maybe a sunburn and a few more losses on their record. So Tulane is scuffling a little bit. So I don't know if you can really put too much value into the 3-game sweep that Hawaii's coming off of, but they're doing all right. They're 2-1 in the Big West. They're 12-8 overall, so not too bad. I think they are. I think they're in 2nd or 3rd place in the Titans and UC Santa Barbara are currently in 2nd place in the Big West, and then I think Rainbow Warriors are now tied with other teams for 3rd place.
The big surprise is UC San Diego. They're 6-0, I think. So they're off to they're the surprise right now.
That is the surprise, but I do want to temper some anxiety there in the fact that even if UC San Diego runs the table, yes, the wins and the losses still count in the standings for both teams. UC San Diego, since they're still transitioning from Division II to Division I, they're ineligible to play in the postseason. So even if they win the Big West Conference outright, the 2nd place team will get the automatic bid.
Wow, interesting.
So it's one of those things where they made that rule. It's it might be one of those Titan rules. You played on those teams where it's like, oh well, you can't play a game and then be the first one to play in the College World Series. You can't be the last one to play in the regional and then be first one to play in the College World Series. That's kind of like the unofficial Titan.
Yeah, we did that in '94.
Exactly. So I don't know if you've got to have this grace period where you can play Division I, you can be in a Division I conference, but your games still count in the ranking, or in the win-loss records and the standings. But if you win, then you can't. If you win the conference, you can't get the automatic bid for. I think the waiting period is 3 or 4 years. I think it's 4 years, but I know there's like kind of a waiting period where I think if you were a freshman when you were transitioning from D2 to D1, you would probably have exhausted your eligibility by the time you're eligible to make the playoffs or something like that. And I think it has to do with the fact that there's a disparity between the number of scholarships that are offered in Division I versus Division II, which most people don't know this, but instead of 11.7 scholarships, which is Division I think it's 15 or 16 full scholarships are available in D2. I may be way off, and maybe somebody's going to come in and correct me, but I know that there's a disparity between the number of scholarships in Division I versus Division II. So if UC San Diego does run the table and they do remain in first place, from wire to wire, the 2nd place team in the Big West is going to get that automatic bid. So we'll see we'll see what happens with UC San Diego. But that is a bit surprising.
Yeah, it's early.
Because,
it's early. It's 2 conferences, and but that was the early surprise.
Yeah, I would agree. But taking a look at Hawaii, their arms were pretty good, and I believe we're going to get to see at least 2, if not 3, left-handers start. So their starting pitchers, Harry Gustin and Randy, and it's Abishire, I want to say, are going to be the Friday and the Saturday starters, and then Alex, I want to say it's called Garreau. All 3 of those guys against Tulane, they combined for a 0.53 ERA with 21 strikeouts and 3 walks, all while only giving up just 5 hits over 17 innings between the 3 of those guys. So Alex Garreau, he looks like he is a bullpen guy, but then Harry Gustin and then Randy Abishire look like the Friday and Saturday guys. And then Hawaii has a TBA for their Sunday starter, so we're not 100% sure who that might be. But their left-handers are pretty tough to the point where those guys have been pretty tough on some batters. So hopefully the batters for the Titans will be able to bring their sticks and be ready to hit these guys around.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're going to go with the right-handed solid lineup, and Cade Connor will stay where he's at, and he'll just have to battle against those lefties. But he's a good enough hitter to do so.
Yeah, I think Carter White, being a left-handed hitter, will probably still stay in the lineup. Obviously, he's hitting lefties and righties just as well. So I don't think he might move off. The one left-hander that could see a little bit more bench time, just because the left-handers on the mound for the Hawaii Rainbows, would be probably Brendan Bobo. I would think he does struggle a little bit with the left-handers, but we shall see. But then also on the offensive side for Hawaii, giving them a little bit of a preview here, is as a team, they've hit 18 home runs on the year, and that's the most by a Hawaii team through the first 20 games since their 2010 season. And 7 different Rainbows have homered, and Kyson Donahue has 5, and Matt Wong, Jared Quent each have 3. So, and they're actually ranked 3rd in the conference for home runs.
Wow.
So
pop.
Hopefully the Titans can keep the ball down and not elevate and get too many balls up in the zone that they can turn on and get a hold of them. And then Donahue, we mentioned earlier, he comes into the Cal State Fullerton series with a 12-game hitting streak. He's batting .383. He's 18 for 47 on the year. He's got 4 home runs and 18 RBIs over that stretch. So driven in 10 of the 12 games. Driven in a run at least, had an RBI at least in 10 of the 12 games. So he's definitely a guy that when he's up to bat, and I'm sure Coach Walton has got this scouting report on these guys like you wouldn't believe. So, he's got a .623 slugging percentage. So he's definitely the guy that you want to keep an eye on. When
right. You're not going to let him beat you. Fullerton definitely has that scouting report, and don't handle their big hitters. We just got to keep them away from guys on base and, less than 2 outs and all that other good stuff. So I'm excited for the series. This is gonna be nice. I said we were gonna sweep Davis. I predicted that, and I said we were gonna beat Irvine 2 out of 3. We're gonna win 2 out of 3 against Hawaii at home.
All right. Well, you're 2 for 2 on predictions. I love the fact that you're 2 for 2 already. So I like 2 out of 3 against Hawaii, because we all know it might be cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. 2 out of 3 gets you to Omaha. So I'll take 2 out of 3 in every series of this year. And, not to look too far ahead, but if the Titans can continue to take 2 or 3 in every series that they play down the stretch, sweep those series that you would expect to sweep. We got Riverside still coming up. Cal State Bakersfield still on the horizon. So if you can get sweeps there and then take 2 out of 3 against the Hawaiis and the Cal Polys and the UC Santa Barbaras. Yeah, if you can get 2 out of 3 there, that's going to set you up pretty well, and it's also going to give you tiebreakers if it ever comes to that.
Correct.
So definitely like that. All right, sir. Any other thoughts before we let you go and get on our night?
No, let's get some good pitching in and some good hitting, and the defense has been solid. The base running's awesome, and let's get ready for a big series.
Thanks for listening to the 1544 Miles to Omaha podcast. Feel free to visit our website, CalStateOmaha.com. While there, you can order an official Cal State Omaha t-shirt from the merch store. Please subscribe to the 1544 Miles to Omaha podcast and share with family and friends. It's easy. It takes just a few seconds. The 1544 Miles to Omaha podcast is an On the Lam Enterprises production and is not affiliated with Cal State Fullerton or Titan Baseball.